Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Uri Bar Joseph, and I'm the co-founder and COO of Formations, and I will also be your moderator today. We have a great webinar planned, but before we start, a few housekeeping notes. First, this webinar is being recorded. A link to the recording will be sent to you by tomorrow, alongside the presentation with all the information in the deck. You will see that this presentation is filled with a lot of important information and links to additional information. You don't need to take notes. You will get the entire presentation by tomorrow. We have a special offer for our webinar attendees. Today, a 30-minute consultation, a free consultation with one of our tax and accounting experts. And if you sign with Formations by August 15, we will waive your incorporation fee. We will talk more about this towards the end of the presentation. We have people managing the chat and the Q&A module, so please feel free to use those to submit questions or make any comments. If you have questions about the content, we ask that you use the Q&A module. It's you can click on it on the panel, on the Zoom panel that you have. Click the Q&A and it will open a module for you where you can submit your questions. We see those come in all the time. We either answer them directly or bring them up to the forum to answer it more publicly. You can submit those questions at any point during the presentation. At the end of the presentation part of the webinar, we will hold an open Q&A where we will try to address all the questions that we get throughout the webinar, as well as some frequently asked questions that we get on these topics. After the webinar, you will be sent to a short survey about this webinar. We would love to get your feedback so we can improve our webinars. We learn a lot from the feedback and from topics that people bring up during the in the survey. So please take a minute at the end of the webinar to submit your survey answers. And with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to have stored for you today. Today, we will be covering why W-2 is better than 1099, but how you can get there even as self-employed. And we'll talk about the 5 reasons to move to an S Corp. We will explain what forming and being an S Corp means, and why it's much better for you and your business from sole prop or just a single member LLC. We will also be covering the most frequently asked questions on the topic, and we'll have time to answer yours. Our speakers today are Shahal Pliner, founder and CEO of Formations, Aaron Meyer, our head of customer success, and Brian Ware, our head of fulfillment. I'm going to introduce each and every one of them right now very shortly. Shahal, the founder and CEO of Formations, is a tax and accounting expert with over 15 years of experience in the field. He has managed thousands of clients, tax returns, business structures, and S Corps. And before he founded Formations, he built a successful tax and accounting practice in Seattle, serving over 3,500 customers. He will be our main speaker today. Hello, Shahal.
No, hello, Uri.
And now that we have your audio all set, we're going to move over to Aaron. Aaron has worked as an accountant for over 10 years and is certified on numerous fintech platforms. He has specialized in maximizing efficiency through leveraging cloud-based apps while maintaining compliance regulations for city, state, and federal agencies. In his free time, he enjoys playing guitar and yelling at the TV. Hello, Aaron, and I'm glad to see that your Wi-Fi is working.
Yep, for now, so hello.
And last but not least, Brian is an experienced tax consultant with a demonstrated history of working in the accounting industry and educating professionals new to taxation. He is skilled in solving complicated tax reports and in risk management. Brian spends most of his free time working in his garden and enjoying the outdoors, as well as planning his wedding. Hello, Brian.
Good morning.
Before I hand it over to our esteemed panel, we want to start with a short poll to get to know our audience. So I'm going to launch the poll right now. It has 4 questions. You should see them come up on your screen. I'm going to give you a minute to answer them. We like to ask these questions just so we can tailor the content a little bit better to the people who attend the webinar. And today we added a 4th question, and I'm going to explain it just quickly. It's, what do you think about your business will do in the next 6 to 12 months? We're trying to gauge on your business confidence given the current economic atmosphere. So we would love to know if you think your business is going to grow, stay the same, maybe decline, or if you have no idea, that's also fine. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds to fill it out, and then we're going to share the results with our panel so we can tailor the content better. I see that people are still completing the poll, so I'm gonna wait a few more seconds for the last few to complete answering the questions, and then we're going to share the results. So a few more seconds. Okay, I think most people have answered the poll, so I'm going to end it now. You have probably about 3 more seconds if you still want to get your answers in. I'm going to end it now and share the results. Here it is, and you should see the results coming up. Shahal, you should see the results coming up on your screen. As usual, lots of sole props and single member LLCs, no C Corps, a few S Corps, which is great. Mostly no employees, a few with just 1 or 2 employees, somewhat of the regular distribution on income. And then I love seeing that most people think that they're going to grow or stay the same in the coming 6 to 12 months, which is great. A few people with less optimistic view of the future, and some, as usual, have no idea. Which is fine. Shah, do you want me to keep this on, or should we stop sharing the results?
No, I think I got what I needed, and I agree with you. I'm super optimistic about the results. It's fascinating to see our community responding to those questions. So, yeah, good info.
So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you with one last reminder. The Q&A module is open for you. Please submit your questions through the Q&A module. We have people managing that, and they can answer directly as well as field those questions back to our panelists. And enjoy the content.
Perfect. So appreciate, Uri, the warm introductions, and welcome everybody to the Formations Wednesday at 11 webinar. We are here every Wednesday at 11, sharing content and educate the self-employed community audience around tax and accounting concepts. I think in the next 30 minutes, about 11:40, we'll start kind of, more the Q&A discussion. So the next 30 minutes will be a little bit more around tax concepts and tax and accounting, language. So trust the system, trust that we will walk you through the different nuances. And since it's a new language, keep with us. It's a little bit more technical, but again, this is why we have the Q&A module. Feel free to ask questions. It's really important for us that areas that are a little bit more confused and complicated will be cleared, because if you understand how to run your business better, this is where you'll gain literally way more money in your pocket. And this is the idea. The idea is that formations continue to push the world of self-employed, freelance, 1099, gig economy, everybody which is not the traditional W-2, to understand a little bit more that your destiny of taxation is in your hands. You know, if you own your tax destiny and you control it, taxes become not a dead end. Taxes can be reduced to a reasonable rates of payments. We always about, you know, the fair share. But there is a couple of things that I want you to kind of to set kind of as a baseline so we can start. One, we are past the July 15 tax deadline for 2019 tax returns. I hope that most of you file your 2019 taxes. If not, make sure to get your taxes in the system as soon as possible. Extension for 1040s is all the way until October 15. For small businesses like S Corp and LLCs, multi-member is September 15. But the reason that we urge you is one, because one question that we dropped actually from the poll is around the PPP. The PPP and the government subsidies still open until August 8. If you haven't filed your PPP or payroll protection program, please do so. One of our clients just got his documents literally on Friday into the system, got his check or his direct deposit yesterday. So 2-3 days, because there's not so much volume on the system, they process it. So if you haven't filed your PPP, please do so. And we hear that, again, there is a bigger stimulus coming the way of businesses. I think it's called the HEALS Act or something like that, which probably will be same or even bigger than the CARES Act. So make sure that you file your taxes, file your information to the system, because most of those stimulus are based on your 2019 information. And if it's in the system, it's just easier for the banks and the financial institute to provide you with the aid as soon as possible. So one more sentence: trust yourself, trust your business, and trust the system. The reason that we are here is to providing you tools, literally tools that you can share and utilize and execute like now. And if you do it, we promise you that by the end of the 30 minutes, we can keep probably, I don't know, over $15,000 on an annual basis in your pocket. So here we start. So I think that the running your own business has multiple layers. We will touch mainly, today around tax and accounting concept, because in a way we cannot control how best business owner you are. We just can encourage you to be the best of yourself. There is highly demand of your services out there, but once the money hit your bank, our goal and our role is to make sure that the most of this money and dollar that you actually earn in such a hard work, keep in your pocket. So, and I think it's pretty obvious that if you get an advice, you actually can get better results. And many years ago, Judge Learned Hand mentioned that, if you're using an advice, so actually you've been informed about ways of how to save taxes, it's 100% legit and it's legal. So S corporations is one of those concepts that we push, just because the S corporation is highly, highly, highly used in the world of small and medium business. When these larger corporations have the resources to go to their CPA, to their CFO, to their consultant, to their attorneys, most of the time, if the business is actually profitable and make money, they will come back with an S corporation as a solution. The formations idea is how we democratize and how we basically allow the self-employed community that not necessarily have the resources to spend thousands of dollars on advice, how to bring the S corporation concept to your awareness, because it's just a concept, it's just something that it's in the code, it's super legit, and it's just kind of, it's not in the awareness of everybody. So in order to be an S corporation, you need to start with an LLC, and there is some confusion about what's kind of this incorporation process, LLC versus S Corp. So again, feel free to ask questions. Brian, I know that this is one of the topics that you and I as a tax guru, tax experts constantly get questions to be addressed. LLC, S Corp, walk me kind of through the basic.
Yeah, of course. So there's a really important designation, which is an S Corp, and that's with the taxation agencies only. So it could be the federal level or the state level, depending where you live. When we're talking about an LLC, it's going to be a legal designation. So when you operate as an LLC, you're creating an agreement between you and the state that you're operating in and telling them who are the business owners, what kind of work are you doing, and that sort of information. This is the item that gives you that protection around your assets in case there's an issue at all. When you're talking about S Corp, this is much more on the taxation side. It doesn't have to deal with legal structure at all, but instead, how does the government tax your income?
Perfect. So again, there's no brainer that if you're just a sole prop, and again, and I think it's about 67% of the auditors are still sole prop, which means not even an LLC. So the move to an LLC is just a registration. In most states, $200, $200, $300, and you put yourself in a better situation for sure on the asset protection side. It's just the idea of not commingling your business and personal will give you such a protection that in case something goes wrong, at least you can shield your personal assets. But as Brian mentioned, LLC, it's not the end game. In our world, LLC suck the same way as sole proprietorship suck, because LLC is just the intermediary kind of, it's the middle way or middle journey to get into your tax haven. And this is why incorporation is really important, but S corporation, we'll touch in the next couple of slides, it's even more important. Now, one more aspect about why to register your business. So I'm a business owner. I'm running businesses for the last 15 years. I'm taking care of thousands of small business. And you can see the difference in the business mentality, in the ownership, once we start putting all of these business concept around the sole proprietorship. It's almost like getting you out of your PJ, into your work wardrobe. It's just something about this mental discussion between you and yourself and between you and your audience, mainly your clients and the vendors that you're doing business with. So putting your business into the corporate world require from you to do this extra step of maintenance, bring yourself into the separate banking and the name and the brand, and create some, again, accounting procedures of invoicing, where you need to pick your logo. I need to pick kind of, the way that people are paying you, if it's checks or wire transfers or Stripe or any other, technologies. Just put yourself in a mindset that you trust your business better, that you believe in yourself better, and we see highly likelihood that when you move your business from a sole proprietorship, single member LLC into the S corporation world, you'll gain way more business coming your way. So as we said, in our opinion, LLC is not the end game. What we believe should be the end game for for self-employed is S corps, and And let me share with you, an internal or inside secret. I've been an accountant for the last, as I mentioned, 15 years. I'm an insider of the industry. I'm not a CPA, I'm a tax guru. I see your taxes in the different lenses, in the lenses that you see your own business. I can guarantee you that if you are a single owner making more than $60,000, $70,000 a year, there's only one structure in the tax code that will get you into this tax heaven, and this is the S Corporation. You don't need to go and search for an advice or be confused. Be confused about other areas of the business, but don't be confused about how to structure the best optimal tax structure as an S Corporation. And the number one reason is because of the tax savings. The tax savings on an S Corporation is enormous, can be 30-40% less in taxes on every given year. And to give you an example, we just share with you like a copy of tax return. So you can see that on the left column, we picked an individual sole prop that makes $80,000 a year. At the end of the year, after deduction, or after expenses, after standard deduction and the different credits that someone can take, at the end of the year on $80,000, someone will leave on the table a little bit over the $19,000 of federal taxes. When I just take the same structure, $80,000, and break it into the S Corporation, reasonable wage and distribution, you can see that at the end of the day, someone is paying a little bit over than $10,000. This is not a joke. This is not a virtual or whatever illustration. This is real numbers. This is when you enter your revenue into the S Corporation model, you will pay thousands of dollars less in taxes. And the reason is because, self-employment taxes and the ceiling of how much Social Security you can pay, and we'll share with you a little bit more about. But again, tax saving is it's not just coming from being self-employed limited, it's coming from other things. But one of the things that I want you to think about as a business owner, how much is $9,000 for you every year? And if you're making more than $80,000, and again, based on the poll, almost half of you, are making, between 50 to more than 100. So assume that our people on the call today that are making more than 80,000. If you're making more than $80,000, the savings will be significant larger. And again, each and one of you in your own occupation, do the math. What is a $9,000? Sometimes we're dealing with many real estate agents and freelancers. On a real estate agent in Washington State, where we are, it's an average of another sale, which means you can actually make another sale of a property without moving from your chair. This is how significant is the tax savings. And I can guarantee you that this tax savings is year after year after year, as long as you are maintaining, your S Corporation structure and you keep a healthy S Corporation. So we're dealing with many clients. Stephanie is just one of them. She came to us with her 2019 tax returns back in March, already ready to file. And I asked her, hey, let us providing you with a second opinion. Luckily, she already have an active LLC, but she was filing as a single member LLC, as a sole prop. There is something that we can share with you a little bit later in the questions. Brian will share a little bit more about the S election and the fact that you can do it late. Stephanie was the exact, profile where we can do a late S election for her. And just by doing, the late S election and protecting her self-employment taxes in 2019, she could save with us $14,000 just on this specific S election activity. So this is where we ask you, be proactive, see if there is something that you can do about your taxes, get an advice. Again, this is a good reason to show you, a good example to show you why taxes are not a dead end. She was going to file her taxes knowing that she will owe as much once she went through the lenses and kind of the process of formations, she had to pay $14,000 or less, or in her situation, actually her refund increased by $14,000. But as I mentioned, tax savings are not coming specifically just because eliminating of self-employed taxes. One of the areas that we love, to share information and education with self-employed is the area of benefits. Because again, think about it. When we put the title of why W-2 is so better than 1099, think about the world of corporate America. Why corporate America is offering, its W-2 employees these Fortune 500 benefits. Besides the fact that they want to keep this retention, they believe that, again, if they will take care of the well-being of the individual, they will maintain a highly profitable, motivated employee in their businesses. This is what we want to encourage self-employed. We want you to be the best of yourself. And the best of yourself is if you can make, a lot of money, be proud about how much you make, but also take all of these benefit advantages that will allow you to set aside money for future, 401k, different fringe benefits, like prepayment of student loans, HSA, health saving account, $7,000 tax-free money if you use it for medical purposes. And again, the FSA family, mainly again for dependent care. For those of you that has kids younger than 13, you can set aside $5,000 for child care expenses, summer camps. So when you combine the 401k, about close to $20,000, pre-tax, and bring the FSA, HSA, which is $7,000 and $5,000, as tax-free, if used the right way, you can get a lot of tax stay in your pocket. And the example that we have, just on the $80,000, just show that, $9,000 can come from just the move to an S corporation. If you multiple this tax saving with the right benefit structure and health insurance, again, this is $15,000 that you can keep in your pocket on $80,000 of income. This is no joke. This is over $1,000 a month that goes, one, in your pocket, and second, stays in those buckets that actually, you can use in the future. So the immediate concept of becoming a single member LLC, this is a no-brainer. This is something that you all should consider. If you have the income, if you're making less than 80, if you're just on the 80,000, LLC should be the limited liability protection layer. It's cheap, and it will not require you to change a lot of what you're doing at the moment. The S selection, this is kind of the next level for people that basically understand that self-employed is a way of living, that I'm fulfilling kind of my dream, kind of my dream about being independent. But as we said, being independent doesn't mean that you need to penalize yourself. We believe that S corporation can fulfill those two, areas. One, keep the independent contractor independent and be safe and secure, but also the fact that you become an S corporation and manage it in the right way, it's just reduced so much. Areas of audit, it's just reduced so much how much late to file penalties or interest, self-employed are paying just because they're not keeping themselves timely. So I think, Brian, I want you kind of to touch maybe a little bit more about kind of the audit risk, just because, we have the notion about the IRS and I'm scared of the system and every change will just trigger an audit and they will knock on my door. Why S corporation is such an amazing audit protection entity?
Absolutely. So as a sole proprietorship, as a Schedule C filer, you're 10 times more likely to be audited because usually your records are not too well maintained, you're not using an accounting software. There's all these reasons that the IRS scrutinizes a Schedule C. When you move from a Schedule C to be an S Corp, you file a different tax return. And in that tax return, you report specific information about your financials as opposed to just your profit and loss. So throughout the year, you're going through this process of maintaining really good hygiene about your accounting work. And because of that, you have exported reports like a balance sheet, an income statement, and possibly debt basis and things like that, that keep track of your incoming income and expenses really detailed. So the IRS doesn't give you a pass on being audited, but when you look at the historical record of how often Schedule Cs are audited in comparison to S corporations, it's unbelievably different because you have these requirements of this special type of accounting that goes with it, which is really good to have an accountant to do it, but it's easier to report as well.
I would add to that also you're in a different playground, because when you file your Schedule C, you're in the playground of the 1040 world, which is, again, the 1040 world is a way audited world, and the Schedule C is just a form that it's easy, for the IRS to audit, while if you move yourself into the S corporation structure, you're moving yourself into the playground of corporates. And guess what? You'll be, the smallest corporation in the playground. And IRS, we know that are going after the kind of the big, heavy organizations where they can get, in case of a change, some money. But again, the concept around, if I'll do changes around my business, I'm triggering more scrutiny or just a risk by the IRS is totally false. And we can tell you again, as Brian mentioned, that rates of S corporation are audited are really low. And in case they get audited, the fact that we maintain such a clean financials, even then create kind of a no change. Now, one of the things that we see, we run tons of businesses. So we see, we can benchmark, sometimes it's as a self-employed, you're just inside your mind. You only know kind of what you do, and you fight constantly with your inner voice about how we're doing enough. But there's so much that you can do and learn from, other people in your industry. Every industry, are taking, some lessons from sports, why you have coaches and why you have mentors and why you actually work with people that been in your situation and did it before and actually maybe do it even better. But there is a reason why top producers are doing more. Something about top producers in the freelance work and the real estate world is because they understand some areas of the business. And one of the areas that we see that significant amount, I want to say 99% of top producers forms as an S corporation, because they understand that in order for them to be super productive, they need to understand that every dollar that they are working so hard to bring into the business are actually stays there. And when you're working for free in a way, or you're working basically for yourself, and there is nothing left, at the end of the day in the bank account or in your pocket, you start doubting and start asking yourself kind of why I even, do that. So I'm going back, kind of to the beginning of the discussion. I love self-employed because you take care of yourself. Because if you believe in yourself and you believe in your business, this is where you can design your freedom and your own financial destiny. And S corporation, again, it's one of those things that if you think about the 5 main elements of financial elements that are really critical to maintain, between the protection that once I start making money, nobody can actually, can touch it from some way or shape, for the fact that I'll present myself, as a credible business and attract more and more business my way. But once basically all of these amazing flow and leads and funnel of potential clients and clients are actually interacting with me, start paying me, so the invoice become actually money in the bank, I'm turning my AR, my account receivable, into actual collection, I can save most of these dollar amounts in my pocket, not bleeding unnecessary self-employment taxes. Now, the S corporation, because you become an employee of yourself, and I see a lot of questions running through, again, distributions and dividends and reasonable wage, and we'll address it in a couple of more slides in a little bit more in depth. Again, the corporate benefit and the fact that you actually reduce your chances to get audit just mean that you get all of this peace of mind, that you don't need to be so heavily working in your business, but working on your business to generate basically this future prosperity. Now, again, we spoke about this inner voice, and we spoke about the facts that we are doubting ourselves. Don't get confused. We get a lot of pushback, or I get a lot of pushback for the last 15 years from clients that asking me all of these questions, about, is it worth it? Is it how much would I really save? There's questions about, what happens if I'm just kind of parking myself in the self-employment space just for the next 2-3 years? So again, the cost is too much. What do you mean by the cost is too much? The cost is too much compared to what? If the savings are significantly, more, so I'm willing to pay, $3,000, $4,000 every year to keep myself in a situation where I save $15,000. Would you not pay or buy something, at $300 a month to get $900 a month back? I would do it for sure. And if this is kind of also a concept that protect the money and actually allow me to think not just about my immediate present, but my short and long-term future, this is, in my opinion, no-brainer. The fact that it's complicated, correct. So the world of taxation is not easy, but this is why there are so many providers out there, including us, including Formations, which will be more than happy to manage everything for you. Between do-it-yourself solutions like the accounting software or the payroll software or filing your taxes, to actual accountants or holistic solutions, Formations, basically the idea, want to take all of this hassle from you. Take all of this hassle from you because you have so many other things to do. And if you have more things to do, focus on those things to do in the front of the business, which means time is now. Do the change now. Relieve and shield all of the burden, of the necessary, the feeling like, did I keep the oven open? I forgot something. I'm not sure. I don't know what I don't know. Kind of the I don't know what I don't know discussion is no more relevant in the world where actually people are willing to take areas of your business and do it for you. So I don't think it's complicated. I don't think it's, it's more than the complexity of running your own real estate or freelance or insurance business. It's just an element that you need to be familiar with. And as I said at the beginning, new language, kind of new terminologies, there's cadence of activity, which you need to be compliant, but the freedom of being self-employed and the freedom to generate so much money and the ability not to be penalized and just protect and keep more of this hard-earned money in my pocket, this is what makes me wake up every morning and want to be self-employed. Not even one day I regret why I'm not a W-2 employee. So I think I kind of, I promise you 30 minutes or just on the hour 11:40. We have 20 more minutes. We want to share with you a little bit more about Formations. But Brian, Aaron, take us with some questions that we see on the Q&A feed and share with our audience a little bit more of what they actually concerned about.
You bet. I'll get to our standard questions, but we did have a really interesting question about moving dividend income from foreign companies inside of an S Corp. And Formations highly recommends that you only put service-related income through your S Corp so that you're not being subject to self-employment taxes or them being considered for reasonable compensation on any level of income that would not already be subject to that requirement. So generally, you don't want to put Real estate properties, house flips, maybe house flips, but real estate properties, you do not want to put inside an S Corp. Mostly your S Corp should only be for service-oriented income, because that's all you want to be considered in your overall reasonable compensation computations. If you're already receiving more preferential tax treatment on the 1040, you wouldn't move it inside the S Corp to flow the money through. So there's more to that conversation for sure, but I wanted to directly answer it. But if we could get the first line of questions, we'll go ahead and get started there. Great. So first off, what's the difference between the S Corp and an LLC? I kind of touched on this earlier. The LLC is your legal entity. This protects you from personal liability. It gives you an agreement with the state. The S Corp is a tax designation, which is placed up the cherry on top of your LLC to make sure that you're getting the best tax treatment possible. People ask a lot of questions about how complicated is it to move from an LLC to an S Corp? The answer is it's pretty easy. It's a special form that we fill out and send to the IRS for you, and it allows you to just be taxed that way. It's saying, hey, IRS, I'm going to play by your special rules and be taxed in this very preferential way. And why is it suggested to be an LLC versus an S Corp versus a C Corp? And the reason for that is a C corporation has very specific legal requirements on the way that the board meets, retaining those documents, and the way that you're taxed. Whereas an LLC has a lot more flexibility and availability in the way that you decide to be taxed. So as a C Corp, you hit double taxation and have a lot of administrative requirements. And as an S Corp, those kind of just fade away.
Hey, Brian, we've had a couple of questions that are very similar pop up in the Q&A. It has to do with basically what would the minimum net income that you're expecting to be right to transfer from an LLC into an S Corp?
Definitely. From our point of view, we want to make sure that it's going to benefit you financially. So generally, you would say anywhere above 60K of net profit, it really becomes instrumental to be an S Corp. Below that, there are a lot of pieces and things that you need to do, like payroll. Don't be afraid of them at all. It just doesn't necessarily give you the bang for your buck if you're not above 60K in net profits. But that's generally the bar that I set. We can do other things for you and get you ready to be an S Corp when you're ready to turn on the switch, like forming an LLC, having everything ready to go, having good accounting hygiene like I talked about earlier. But when I really want to turn you into an S Corp is around 60K. And it's okay if your income fluctuates year to year. We can still make sure that your reasonable compensation still saves you more than the administrative cost. It just doesn't really make sense if you're making 20 to 40K a year in net profit.
Cool. Yeah, so the next line of our frequently asked questions, actually, since we're just going to roll right into it, is what is a reasonable compensation? And so a couple of people have asked this as well, and that's just a threshold that over the years of the existence of the S Corp entity, we've come to know that around 40% of your net income should be taken from the business as a salary to you, the officer. And that's over time with IRS rulings and in various court cases, that's just become, it fluctuates on industry, but for the most part, it's about 40% of your net income that you should be taking. And then that kind of leads into the next question that we hear a lot is that, will I be able to take that, any other money out of my company, and are there restrictions there?
Hey, Aaron, I think you were a little choppy on the audio.
Really?
We lost his internet, as promised.
There are,
So I'm actually going to, I think he
it's
can, so I'm actually going to
you have accumulated
and I'm going to let
profit or contributions of your own
Absolutely.
penalty.
We're sorry, guys. It's new internet over at Aaron's house, and it's not doing too well. So we were talking about reasonable compensation. So Aaron got through that part. When you're taking money out of your S corporation, you're really looking at, these are distributions. So you have reasonable compensation, which is your W-2, and then you have distributions. So just like a sole proprietor where you take money out of your checking account when you need it, it's the same way. We just categorize it as what's called an owner distribution. And as long as you have significant basis, you can actually take it out free, and that's a much deeper conversation. Another question is, can you put personal funds into your corporate account if your funds are low? And absolutely. This is an increase to your basis. So it's an investment in your own company. And when you do that, you actually can pull that money out later tax-free, which is really lovely.
And Brian, maybe the last lines, I'm going to jump in here because Aaron is having a little bit of Wi-Fi difficulties. This is the life we live now in all remote.
COVID-19
A few questions here that we usually get at this point is, what can you do with family? And we got a few questions about including your spouse. Does it make sense to make them a partner, a shareholder, or just an employee? If you can talk a little bit about that as well.
Definitely. There's a lot of questions to be had around, should it be a single member, should it be a multi-member LLC? We're a big fan of single member LLCs and then putting family members on payroll and making sure that they can enjoy retirement benefits or even implementing tax strategies of younger dependents who are either in college or even in high school, benefiting from a lesser tax bracket. So there is a lot of strategy. It's a discussion because there is some administrative pieces, and we really need to understand what are your family's goals before moving forward with any of those structures. Then, should I form an S Corp if I make less than 50K a year? I kind of addressed this earlier. I think that an LLC is a must. An S Corp is a question mark, and we can do what's called a late S election, which is great. So we have up to 3 years from the date of formation to do an easy, oops, I forgot to be an S Corp and I want to be one now. And then we benefit from that strategy. So it does make sense to build the LLC at 50K a year. Does it make sense to go forward with S Corp? We can have that conversation as the end of your year approaches to make sure that you're doing the most beneficial thing for your tax strategy.
So Brian, that's actually a great segue into a question that we got through the Q&A module about what if I already this year, is it too late for me this year? What if I already paid some self-employment taxes this year? Can you talk about late election, transitioning during a tax year?
Absolutely. So what's really important is that you have to have a legal entity before you can be an S Corp. So this is an LLC. Technically, it's a partnership or a C Corp, although I would go against those ones. I just use the chameleon, which is the LLC, and go forward with choosing to be an S Corp later. If you already made payments to the IRS that are called estimated payments, these operate in the same way that withholding from your paycheck does. Anything that you overpay will be refunded to you on your 1040 and can be computed when we do your reasonable compensation. So we can know that you've already paid, say, $10,000 in estimated payments. We'll make sure that you're not paying an additional $10,000, so you're not getting a $20,000 refund. We'll turn down your federal withholding on your pay stubs so that you make sure that you're nice and even and that you're planned out without a big tax bill. Yep. And then, of course, S elections, the late S election, like I talked about, most important thing is you need a legal entity before you can be an S Corp. You can't have one before it. So you should build an LLC, even if you're still at the 20, 30, 40, 50 range, and then make the choice later as your business starts to pick up.
Uri, I think it's a good segue. By the way, let's jump to the kind of what formation is doing, just because it answers a lot of those kind of one-off discussions, because I agree with Brian, on one hand, having, the LLC, S corporation, the muscle of accounting software, payroll on handy, is just an enabler to make those decisions that each family is different. So I want my spouse to be as a partner, while someone wants to have his spouse as an employee. My daughter just, graduate college or just, graduate high school, and I can employ her in my business. I can pay a small W-2 and take care of her, financials or retirement. And this is what the beauty about formations. Formations is here to provide you with this peace of mind, these tax savings, the access to benefits, this holistic solution, which is a lot of technology at the back office, which integrate automatically with your banking and credit card and do these bookkeeping reconciliation automatically and advise you on what is a reasonable wage. But at the end of the day, I think what's unique about formations is that we have actual accountants like Aaron or Chichi, or we have actual tax people like Brian and myself, that can, if something is getting a little bit more complex or something really one-off and you need something really specific for yourself, this is exactly where the expertise, of the individual consultant come, and you can always pick up the phone, send us email, text us, or use kind of, our dashboard, our portal, where our clients are making all of those decisions to make an easy interaction with us. So I want just to do a recap about how do you become an S corporation. You become an S corporation in with the 4 easy steps. One, we need a domestic LLC in the state that you live in. S election is just a one form that needs to be filed and faxed to the IRS. You need to open a separate business bank account, define your reasonable compensation, choose your benefit, and that's it. And once you basically, make all of those decisions, and again, with formations, it's easy. You just need to fill up a form, and we are doing everything for you. This is where everything comes again and again on this simple language that you need to already be familiar with, which is the revenue. This is the income that gets into your bank account. This is not dividend. This is not rent. This is hard money, kind of, self-employment income. This is where you run your expenses, your payroll, benefit distribution. This is where, if you make those decisions about running it super efficient, this is where we guarantee you that you pay less taxes and you'll keep more money in your pocket. And I think that, again, it's important to mention that when you use all of this do-it-yourself software, you're actually in the mercy of your knowledge, know actually what do you do. And when you do kind of business with consultants, with experts, or with a combination of, a product, software, and the human factor, like formations, again, you can get into this peace of mind that the consultants, those actually been dealing with tens, hundreds of thousands of businesses like you, can give you this amazing service. We always will be available, always kind of will never let you go to sleep, with an IRS question or with an accounting and tax question. Is just super easy. And then kind of going back into the mathematical equation, at the end of the day, if we basically guarantee you these tax savings, we also guarantee you that we keep you in this tax saving mechanism even after you pay our fee. And you can see that, by paying the formations monthly fee, but focus on the tax and benefit component, where we can help you to design, again, the most efficient back office for your business and help you to define those tax, when to pay, how to pay, those benefits, if it's the right benefit for me and my family, or actually I can skip this year and keep more money in my pocket just because I need the cash cushion in order to put a down payment for my primary resident or a rental house, or just to refinance. Again, some decisions that not always the taxes are the highest important, but if you decided to do so, again, we guarantee you that with paying your fees to participate in this amazing instrument, where you can still save money in your pocket. So again, I want to make sure that we keep more time for your questions, just because I see some questions are coming. Brian, before we go to the offer, or just remind people about our amazing offer for this coming 2 weeks, more questions?
Yeah, someone had a really good question about, Stephanie, about a solo 401k and an LLC if your income is less than 60K. And this is a really in-depth conversation, but the most important thing is, if your cash flow can support it as a family, you should be putting in as much into retirement as possible. And the solo 401k is a spectacular vehicle to do so, regardless if you're an S Corp or a sole proprietorship. It's still available to you. So the answer is yes. If you can afford to put $19,500 or $27,000 if you're over 50, then you definitely should be putting that money away. With a net income of 60K, that's going to be a conversation that you need to determine. Can you afford to send that much over, or do you need that cash flow for your daily expenses? So it's an ongoing dialogue about this, but the answer is, if you can afford it, you should put as much money into retirement as possible.
And again, just to make another comment, Brian, this is a great discussion, because sometimes people kind of take the tax discussion as an isolation of the overall financials. And again, in the cash flow, this very high level word, or in a low level, how much available money I have in my bank to pay for expenses and other things. The cash flow is so important, because when you see things that are actually hitting your bank but you're sure that there is some inertia of more money coming into the business, we can help to make those discussions and those decisions of contributions, because we want you to maximize your retirement, and we want you to maximize savings, and we want to maximize HSA, FSA. And sometimes, it's hard to see how do I do it, but with formations, it's so easy, because we help to make those cash flow decisions, just because some of those contributions need to happen this month. So we'll make a priority. Are we paying into the 401k, and we're actually delaying some of your federal taxes to the next month? Some of those 401k profit sharing on some other contribution can come all the way to September 15 of 2021, which means I have a year and 2 months to contribute, to plans that will give you the tax benefit that the saving today, but the money can come from earnings that I will make in August of 2021. And if we believe, like everybody, or most of everybody on the call, that actually as a strong community of self-employed, we will drive our destiny for a better next 6 to 12 months, you will have more in 6 to 12 months to fund your retirement. So even if the money is not available today, we can make those contributions, in a couple of months and still get, the tax savings. And this is what it's really important for us, to share the information that cash flow is king, and cash is queen. So we just need to make sure, that we know all of those different nuances. Just reminding about our offer. Our offer is...
I want to squeeze in one last question, and then we'll go over the last few details before people go back to their day. So maybe the last question is, and I think that came in a few times before, is how fast, if you were a sole prop right now, do you need to go through LLC and then S Corp? Can it be done in one shot? How fast can it be? If I raise my hand and decided to be an S Corp after this webinar, how fast can I become an S Corp?
So most of the time we see that actually the person that slowed down the process is actually the taxpayer. We are super fast, and most often I'm telling people, the obstacle for your success is you yourself. So move yourself away from the process, and the process can be done in 48 to 72 hours. So we are in Wednesday today, assuming that we submit, the LLC papers to the state of Washington, California, Colorado, Texas, whatever, tomorrow morning. The only thing that we need is a name. I think that by Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, we have most of the documents that we need. EIN can be created online. S-selection can be faxed to the IRS. So by the end of next week, by the first week of August, we are up setting with a separate bank account and zero gusto and benefit already connected. So between couple of days to 2 weeks, depends on, how busy is the state that we're incorporating, but summertime is usually it's a little bit, it's a good time. It's a slower time on the states. Don't try to incorporate your business in November 20th. Don't try to incorporate your business in December 15 and believe that it will be as easy in 2 weeks to complete it. The best loophole is planning. Take your time to think, and if you do it now, I can guarantee you that you'll take advantage of an S corporation for the entire 2020.
Awesome, thank you. So first of all, thank you so much, Shacha, Brian, Aaron with the Wi-Fi problems. I want to thank all the attendees that joined us today. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to follow up with an email with the recording and the deck with all the details. There's a survey on your way out. But I do want to mention, because there were a few questions, we are a tech-enabled service. We are building a product that will do everything that we just said automatically and give you access to expert advice. So questions about formations, questions about how we can help you, questions about accountant, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. You can schedule a free call to learn more, or respond to one of the follow-up emails that we're going to send out today and tomorrow. We're here to help. And actually, this is a great opportunity to also mention our special offer. We offer a 30-minute consultation for free to review your specific tax savings, your specific financials, so we can tailor the best offer for your business. And if you sign with us before August 15, we will waive the incorporation fee and the onboarding fee. There was a question about, will we do it for you? Absolutely. We will manage your entire incorporation, S-election, and the creation of your S Corp. Reach out to us and we will help you do that. There's a lot more content on our YouTube channel. And if you enjoyed this webinar, please recommend it to others. We're here almost every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we're going to run similar webinar. If you wanted to ask more questions, you can do that in the webinar or directly to us. Once again, I want to thank you for your time today. We're not taking for granted spending an hour with us in the middle of the week, and I know you are all busy, so we appreciate it. Thank you for, again, Shahar, Brian, Aaron, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Ori. Always here to help.